Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shelter Game. I can synthesize infinitely. Chapter 1. Daxia, the Magical Capital. It was 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening, and the city was filled with neon lights, busy traffic, endless laughter, and an atmosphere of happiness and peace everywhere. Bai Yi stood by the window, looking at this familiar scene, full of nostalgia, and at the same time a hint of excitement emerged on his face. It's not a hallucination. I'm really reborn. A second ago, he was stubbornly resisting the darkness in his shelter, but because his strength was not strong enough, he died at the hands of dark creatures. But the next second, he was back to where it all started. Looking at the beautiful world in front of him, Bai Yi once felt extremely nostalgic. But it's a pity that it will soon be enveloped in darkness. Who would have thought that such an ordinary, everyday world would be invaded by darkness and peeped by evil gods a month later? Those evil gods fed on the origin of the world and destroyed worlds one after another. Blue Star is their next target. At that time, not only the evil god will come, but also many terrifying monsters who follow the evil god will come. At the same time, because the power of the evil god is too powerful, it affects all nature in the world. Beasts and plants will evolve, and natural disasters will wreak havoc. It is difficult for living creatures to survive on the ground, and they can only huddle in one shelter after another. Thinking of facing those terrible evil gods again, Bai Yi had no fear in his heart, but was extremely excited. Without hesitation, he picked up his phone, opened a game software, and after searching for the word, shelter, a game called Dark Shelter suddenly came into view. Sure enough, with his eyes shining, Bai Yi looked overjoyed. This was the confidence that gave him the courage to face the evil god but still not be afraid. In the last life, 2 months after darkness enveloped the world, Bai Yi learned that 1 month before the arrival of darkness, the will of the earth had revived. In order for humans to have the ability to resist the darkness and deal with the evil gods, the will of the earth forcibly connected the former world after world that was eaten away by evil gods created this game. The game is set in a world destroyed by evil gods one after another. In these worlds, there are extraordinary powers, powerful creatures, and homeless people wandering in the darkness after the world was shattered. As long as players enter the game, they will get a chance to awaken their talents and a shelter that can be infinitely upgraded. You can then upgrade your shelter, explore the world, and obtain various magical rewards. He can even recruit homeless wanderers to work for him. Elves, dwarves, dragons, mages, knights and more. Best of all, everything in the game brings you back to reality. Relying on a month of accumulation in the game and the infinitely evolving shelter, those players were still very nourished even after the arrival of the evil god. Not only did they recruit many strong men under their command, the shelter was upgraded to an extremely high level situation. Many players have become princes. In the previous life, Bai Yi learned about this game too late. The moment darkness fell, his phone lost the network, and the game seemed to have stopped downloading. But in this life, Bai Yi will not miss such an opportunity. It's July 1st now, and the time for darkness to fall is August 1st, which is exactly 1 month away. In this month, I need to become stronger as soon as possible and accumulate enough resources. Only in this way can I survive in the world after darkness falls. A look of determination appeared on Bai Yi's face and he immediately downloaded the game. The game is not big, only 100 KB, and it was downloaded in an instant. Click on the game. The screen went black, and then pixel subtitles appeared. Dark Asylum. At the same time, there was also a gloomy background music. As the cutscene interface disappears, it is replaced by a series of prompts. You downloaded Dark Asylum and became one of the players of this game. Open black lens bracket scanning your body data. Scan successful. Open black lens bracket awakening talents for you. Awakening is successful. You gain talent, synthetic hand. Basic shelter is being distributed to you. Please select your shelter location. Underground. Open black lens bracket. Do you want to enter the game? Yes. The screen went black, then a glimmer of light appeared. In the picture, a small room appeared. There was a bed, a set of tables and chairs, and a candle was lit on the table, blooming with faint light. Open black lens bracket shelter. The prompt in the upper right corner indicates that this house is his basic shelter. There is another villain in the room, a character controlled by Bai Yi. In addition to this, there are 2 options in the upper left corner. 1. Attributes. 2. Backpack. Bai Yi rubbed his hands and clicked on attributes excitedly. Open black lens bracket Bai Yi. Extraordinary sequence. None. Level. None. Equipment. None. Talent. Synthesis hand. You have the ability to synthesize any item 3 times a day and can be upgraded. Tip. After the game character dies, you cannot enter the game again until the next day. Hey, what a powerful talent. Bai Yi looked excited when he saw the introduction of his talent. In his previous life, he had no talent and had only heard about it. Now I finally have it, and it is obviously a very powerful talent. With this talent in hand and becoming a player first, he has the confidence to survive in the darkness that follows. It's a pity that the number of synthesis times is relatively small, only 3 times a day. Fortunately, the talent can be upgraded. I think the number of times will increase after upgrading. As for the fact that the game character dies and needs to enter the game the next day, Bai Yi doesn't care, because he knew about it in his previous life. After understanding the innate ability, Bai Yi is ready to explore the world. Because the shelter is placed underground, the exit is a ladder. Bai Yi controlled the character to walk out of the shelter, and what appeared on the screen was a world shrouded in black fog like a surging wave. Bai Yi knows that this is a world that is a fusion of many worlds that have been eaten away by evil gods. Here, there are countless opportunities and dangers buried. Also, there are treasure chests. This is a special reward given by the will of the earth to players, from which they can obtain various items. After the darkness fell, things like treasure chests also appeared on the earth. It is also because of this that many people can resist tenaciously in the darkness for several years. Bai Yi's next goal is to find the treasure chest and get rewards. But before that, he needed a handy weapon. Bai Yi controlled the villain to search around. You picked up the stick. You picked up the stone. You synthesized the stick and stone, and you obtained the item, ironwood stick. Iron stick. Explanation. The wooden stick made of special ironwood material is very hard and has a strong striking ability, which can cause considerable damage. Good. Bai Yi showed joy on his face and immediately equipped the iron wooden stick. There were still 2 synthesis opportunities left, so Bai Yi didn't waste them and directly controlled the character to explore in the black mist. Not long after, a very familiar roar came from the phone. There are corruptors. The corruptor is a low-level monster in the darkness. It is formed by humanoid creatures contaminated by the power of the evil god. It is covered in rotting flesh and blood, a bit like a zombie, but it can spray corrosive acid. This was the most common monster in my previous life, so I was very familiar with the sound. Bai Yi immediately became vigilant. Because there was heavy fog everywhere and visibility was very low, he could only control the character to move forward carefully. The next moment, a ferocious corruptor figure appeared and sprayed a ball of green liquid directly at Bai Yi's character. Bai Yi had been prepared for it, and immediately controlled the villain to avoid it, and then swung the iron rod to hit it without hesitation. With a bang, the corruptor's head was blown open by the stick. You killed the corruptor, do you want to collect it? Gathering is an ability of players in the game. They can collect the corpses of any monsters they kill and obtain materials. Bai Yi immediately chose yes. Collection is successful, you have obtained corrosive bone X1 and corrosive venom X1. Sure enough, there is nothing good about the corruptor. Bai Yi curled his lips, a little disgusted with this thing. Because it's useless. Wait, it looks like I can use it to synthesize it. Bai Yi suddenly thought of his talent and his eyes lit up. These materials may not be useful to others, but they may not be useful to you. After all, his talent can be used to synthesize anything, but not many times. There are only 2 synthesis left today, which makes him hesitate. But Bai Yi soon made up his mind. The most important thing is to improve your strength in the early stage. With strength, you can better explore the game world and obtain resources. Open the backpack. The things you just collected have been automatically placed inside. Corroded bones. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The bones originating from the corrosive body contain a trace of corrosiveness. Corrosive venom. Explanation. The venom originating from the corruptor's body is highly corrosive. Perhaps it can be used to make poison. Close black lens bracket. Bai Yi looked at the introduction and touched his chin in thought. His talent is very strong. But there are 2 flaws. First, there are only 3 opportunities a day. Second, only 2 items can be synthesized at a time. It was impossible for him to use all the remaining 2 synthesis opportunities on this, so he had to make a choice. After thinking for a long time, Bai Yi made a choice. Iron Rod plus Corrosive Venom. Click Compose. The prompt appears immediately. The synthesis is successful. You have obtained the item, Poisonous Wooden Stick. Poisonous Wooden Stick. Explanation. The wooden stick contains highly corrosive poison. Its material is hard. When it hits the enemy, it has a chance of corroding the enemy's body. Pretty. Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth and immediately showed a happy smile. As a result, the combat power increased greatly. Bai Yi controlled the villain to move forward, collecting some wood and stones on the ground. The shelter can be upgraded infinitely, but upgrading requires materials. The more precious the materials, the better, because the evolution of the shelter will not follow a fixed route, but what characteristics can be obtained based on the materials used to evolve. Of course, that was later. In the early stage, you only need 3 items: iron, wood, and stone. In a short time, Bai Yi had almost 200 pieces of wood and stones in his backpack. At this time, a corruptor entered the screen. Bai Yi was extremely calm and controlled the villain to first avoid the corruptor's venom, then quickly approached and waved the poisonous wooden stick. With a bang, the corruptor's head was blown open, killing him instantly with one blow. After gathering, a bunch of useless materials were obtained. Bai Yi did not throw it away, but kept it in the backpack. He knew he wasn't the only player in this game. Although players all have talents, their talents may be strong or weak. The most important thing is that not all players can get a good weapon in the early stage. At that time, they may be able to synthesize poisonous wooden sticks to exchange resources. On the screen of the mobile phone, fog surged and it was pitch black. Only a 1-meter diameter area around the villain character could be seen. In addition to the eerie background music, you can also vaguely hear the rustle of the cold wind. Suddenly, a series of roars sounded from the deep fog. Bai Yi raised his eyebrows, looking surprised. It seems, they are all the voices of the corruptors, but there seem to be a lot of them. The number of sounds sounds like there are at least a dozen. Is there a building in front? Bai Yi started to guess. After all, corruptors are the result of humanoid beings being contaminated. Even if someone is contaminated in the wilderness, there are only 1 or 2, not more than a dozen. So there is a high probability that there is a building in front of it. Thinking of this, Bai Yi was not afraid, but looked excited. Architecture. Maybe there will be something good. Controlling the villain, Bai Yi looked forward. After a while, 3 corruptors came into view. They also discovered Bai Yi and rushed over with roars. Bai Yi was not in a hurry, controlling the character to first avoid the attacks of the corruptors, and then looking for an opportunity to strike with a stick, killing one end first, and then following the same pattern to kill the other 2. In a short time, the 3 corruptors died in Bai Yi's hands. After collecting as usual, Bai Yi controlled the villain to move forward for a certain distance, and sure enough, a corner of a dilapidated village appeared on the screen. Exactly what I thought. I heard that the probability of finding a treasure chest in this kind of place was much higher. Therefore, Bai Yi licked his lips, sat up straight, and showed a look of expectation while becoming serious. Walking into the village, the voices of the corruptors could be heard one after another. Obviously, there should have been many villagers here, but they were all contaminated and became corruptors. While Bai Yi carefully explored, he also looked for some available resources in the village. You picked up wood. You picked up the stone. You picked up iron. You picked up iron. You picked up a corroded iron knife. Close black lens bracket. You picked up corroded armor. There are indeed good things, haha. Looking at the prompt, Bai Yi laughed and immediately opened his backpack and saw corroded iron swords and armor inside. The iron sword was ignored for the time being. Bai Yi's eyes fell on the armor, and he directly decided to use the last synthesis opportunity. Corroded armor plus iron. Activate the talent, and the rust on the armor immediately dissipates, replaced by a brand new luster. You have obtained a set of soldier armor. Soldier armor. Explanation. The standard soldier armor from a certain empire has strong defensive power, but it will also cause a certain degree of inconvenience in movement. Bai Yi clicks on the equipment. The little man on the screen flashed with white light, and then put on a set of blue and white armor, which gave him a feeling of strong defense. Seeing this, Bai Yi nodded with great satisfaction. His character has a weapon. What is lacking is defense. Now that he has this set of armor, if nothing else, at least the corruptors in the village will not be able to pose any threat to him. At the same time, this also shows that he can go on a killing spree in this village. Of course, the premise is that there are no monsters other than corruptors in this village. Because of the armor, Bai Yi's movements were not as cautious as before, but instead he was as generous as if he was visiting the village. The commotion became louder, which naturally attracted the attention of the corruptors in the village. With the roar coming from far and near on the phone, Bai Yi rubbed his hands and immediately prepared for battle. Soon, the figures of some corruptors entered the mobile phone screen. Bai Yi controlled the villain and started killing everyone. As soon as the stick went down, one of the brains was shattered. And because of his armor, Bai Yi is not afraid of facing a large number of corruptors. As long as he pays attention to avoiding the corruptors' acid, their normal attacks will not cause any harm to the villain at all. In a short time, the dozen or so corruptors surrounding him were all eliminated. Collection is successful. You have obtained Corrosive Bones X12 and Corrosive Venom X13. After collecting all the corpses of the corruptors, the corpses disappeared, and Bai Yi continued to control the villain to explore the village. After entering a wooden house, a wooden treasure box appeared in view, which made Bai Yi's eyes light up. Finally saw the treasure chest. He walked forward and opened the treasure chest, and a soft light emitted. You opened the wooden treasure chest and obtained the dispersing lantern. Disperse the lantern. Explanation. A special lantern contains the energy of the fire of hope. The flame inside it will never go out. The light it emits can dispel the black fog and increase the visibility by 1 meter. This thing was actually prescribed. Bai Yi's eyes lit up and he immediately smiled. Although it doesn't seem to be of much help in combat, with this thing, you can see further and avoid more dangers. Definitely a tool for exploration. And this thing is very rare. Many people wanted to get it in the previous life, but because the output was not much, it had a price but no market. I didn't expect that I would get it all at once after being reborn. Has your luck also improved after rebirth? Bai Yi chuckled and equipped it. Immediately afterwards, a lantern appeared on the waist of the little man on the mobile phone screen. The visibility on the screen also suddenly doubled. It is more convenient for Bai Yi to explore the village. 2 corruptors approaching quietly were also discovered, and Bai Yi immediately controlled the character to go up and kill them with 2 sticks. Continuing to explore, Bai Yi soon found a wooden treasure chest in another wooden house. Tisk tisk, those players in the previous life did not lie to me. There are indeed many good things in the building complex. This is the second treasure chest. Bai Yi opened immediately. You opened the wooden treasure chest and obtained the incomplete monster illustration. Incomplete monster illustrated book. Explanation. In a world that was eroded by evil gods, in order to resist the invasion of evil gods, a knowledgeable mage traveled around the world and made a monster illustrated book, which contained detailed information and information about some monsters in the darkness. Unfortunately, he was incomplete, not complete. Monster Manual. Bai Yi clicked on the backpack and found the monster illustrated book inside. After opening it, he found that there were a total of 23 pages, each page recording information and pictures of a kind of monster. The first page is Bai Yi's familiar corruptor. Open black lens bracket corruptor. Introduction. A monster polluted by humanoid creatures. It is weak in strength and has its weakest point. It is very fragile. Ordinary people can kill it even with weapons, but they must be careful of the opponent's acid, which is highly corrosive. At the same time, not all corruptors are weak. Corruptors polluted by different creatures have different strengths. At least the corruptors polluted by orcs, elves, etc. are very strong and need to be dealt with carefully, but the weak point is also the head. It's pretty much what I know, but I haven't seen the corruptors contaminated by orcs and other races. Bai Yi murmured and continued to read. There are some monsters in the back that Bai Yi has seen or heard of, and they are all relatively common monsters. Such as ghouls, screamers, bloodthirsty reptiles, etc. If it is obtained by other players, they will definitely be ecstatic, because as the saying goes, only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you be victorious in every battle. With the monster illustration in hand, you can learn more about the monster's weaknesses, and it will be easier to deal with it. But for Bai Yi, this illustration is of little use, after all, he knows most of the information. Etc. Suddenly, Bai Yi's eyes lit up and he raised the corners of his mouth. Yes, I don't need it myself, but I can sell it to other players. Of course it's not about selling the book in your hand. Instead, just make a bunch of copies when the time comes and sell one copy if necessary, and you can make a lot of money. Thinking of this, Bai Yi closed the illustrated book happily and prepared to continue exploring. He has explored more than half of the village, leaving only the last few houses unvisited. In addition to a row of houses, Bai Yi discovered that there was also a two-story church. After exploring a row of houses, Bai Yi found no treasure chest and only collected some materials. So far, the wood and stones in his backpack have exceeded 1,000. Of course, the more of these basic materials, the better. Bai Yi will not let them go as long as he sees them. If he hadn't been worried that demolishing the houses would cause too much noise and might attract some scary monsters, Bai Yi would have demolished the houses in the village to recycle materials. Arrive in front of the church. Bai Yi looked carefully. The church. I wonder if there are any runes in it. Bai Yi's eyes sparkled, showing a trace of expectation. The worlds merged in the Dark Land all have extraordinary power. The religious organizations where churches are located are generally powerful and spread extraordinary cultivation methods. In the Dark Land, these cultivation methods will be transformed into runes, and the runes can directly allow players to gain power. This is what he learned in his previous life. The church as a whole looks like a tall tower, surrounded by a stone courtyard and with a wooden door on the front. Bai Yi controlled the character to push open the wooden door and walked in. The next moment, Bai Yi saw a white figure standing in the yard looking directly at him. Before he could react, the figure suddenly erupted into a terrifying and ear-piercing scream. Even Bai Yi, who was outside the screen, felt dizzy for a while. Bang! The game character's head exploded. Open black lens bracket, you are dead. The screen was dark, and a blood-red prompt appeared. Bai Yi's face changed suddenly and became very ugly. FK, why are there screamers in this church? He recognized the monster. Known as the Screamer, it can emit a terrifying scream that kills people. It's just that this kind of monster usually wanders in the wilderness, but unexpectedly it appears in the church. Bai Yi felt a little regretful. After all, the character died and he could no longer enter the game today. If he had known better, he should have been more cautious. After shaking his head and cursing his luck, Bai Yi quit the game. I looked at the time and before I knew it, it was already 2 o'clock in the morning. He was so immersed in the game that he didn't realize that 5 or 6 hours had passed. After regaining consciousness at this time, I felt a little bit tired mentally. After yawning, Bai Yi went to the bathroom to wash up and then fell asleep to prepare for tomorrow. Bai Yi slept very comfortably and peacefully. He is not as frightened as in his previous life. He will wake up in the middle of the night from time to check whether there are any powerful monsters approaching outside the shelter. Rubbing his groggy eyes, Bai Yi picked up the mobile phone on the bedside and took a look. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. Yawning, Bai Yi got up and washed up. After ordering a takeaway for a long time, he came to the computer and started searching for a forum called Unknown Person. This is a place established by the government specifically for players of the Dark Asylum game to communicate. Because this game was discovered by official personnel at the beginning, and was finally passed on to the top management, and then this forum was created and a dedicated department was established. As long as you click into this forum, you will be officially given the IP address for the first time. At the same time, some questions will be asked to determine whether the user is a real player. Bai Yi knew this because he heard it from others in his previous life, but he didn't care at all. Because he knows that the official purpose of establishing this forum is not only to allow players to share information, but also to recruit players to work for the official, but it is not mandatory. The most important thing is to determine the identity of the players and prevent them from doing evil. Even if they do evil, as long as the identity is confirmed, it's easy to catch. Bai Yi has no intention of doing evil, so there is no need to worry about this. After entering the keyword, hit the enter key. A forum soon came into view. Bai Yi's eyes flickered and he murmured, "Sure enough, I'm not the first player. I'm afraid there are many players of this game before me. In addition to domestic ones, there are also many players from all over the world. And the number will continue to increase in the future. There are only 3 sections in the forum: help, communicate, trade. After entering the forum, you will automatically enter the communication section. At this point, there are quite a few posts here. Please help. How to deal with the corruptor. You can't defeat it at all. Close double angle bracket. Does anyone know who made this game? Close double angle bracket. I vomited. Isn't this game too difficult? He died just after leaving the shelter. Can any brothers share their exploration experiences? Close double angle bracket. Penguin Group sincerely invites players to join. There are many benefits, a lot of annual salary, and a wife included. Close double angle bracket. Ha ha ha, I took off, and I actually got a rune. Close double angle bracket. Seeing the last post, Bai Yi looked surprised and clicked on it immediately. A picture suddenly came into view. Basic professional runes, warrior. Explanation. After use, you can obtain extraordinary basic professional warriors, and obtain corresponding specializations and talents, as well as passive blessings. It's surprising that someone got a rune so quickly, and it's a professional rune. To be honest, Bai Yi was a little jealous and envious. After all, having such a rune is equivalent to directly gaining extraordinary power, and even the Screamer can easily solve it. Damn it, Emperor O, go to hell. Bai Yi couldn't help but cursed secretly, and scrolled down again, and found that many people were shouting for a deal, and some people even offered 200 million to buy this wool rune. But unfortunately, the person who posted this post chose to refuse. Think about it, with a piece of professional rune, you can gain powerful power. The next exploration will be easier and you can get more good things. Who would lose a big deal for a small amount? Bai Yi shook his head, thought for a while, picked up his phone and clicked on the game. As soon as you enter the game, a shelter screen appears on the screen. After the game character dies, he will be automatically reborn in the shelter when he enters the next day. Bai Yi clicked on the backpack, found the monster illustration inside, took a screenshot, and then displayed it. The monster illustrated book immediately appeared in front of me out of thin air, exuding a decayed and ancient atmosphere. Looking at the illustrated book, Bai Yi grinned. Although I don't have the will rune, this thing is not bad. Without hesitation, he immediately posted a post on the forum, uploaded the description of the monster illustrated book, pointed out the information on the monsters on it, and then priced it at 10,000 yuan. It seems expensive, but it's not. Because this game can only take out or put in-game items, and real-life things cannot be brought into the game, it is easy for players to make money. In particular, there are many members of the consortium among the players. They are not short of money at all, but they are short of equipment. Even a long knife can be sold for tens of thousands of yuan. For example, if Bai Yi synthesized the suit of armor yesterday, it would definitely sell for hundreds of thousands. Therefore, even if players feel distressed at the price of 10,000 yuan, it is easy to buy it. As expected, after Bai Yi posted the post, there were many replies soon. Damn it, is there such a good thing? Why didn't the poster take it out earlier? If he had taken it out earlier, I wouldn't have died yesterday. 10,000 yuan. It's so cheap. I've already paid for it. Send me the stuff quickly. The poster is in the Magic City. That's great. I'm here too. Send the poster over here quickly. I can't help but kill in the game. Is there even information about the banshee in the forest? Very good, I bought it. Whoa, why did you all get the good stuff, but I got some moldy food? Just be satisfied upstairs. I've been playing this game for 2 days, and now I only see some rocks and wood, and nothing else. Bai Yi looked at the comments and raised the corners of his mouth. Take a look. He said the price was very cheap. But at this time, the text message in the upper right corner of the screen suddenly flashed, showing that someone was chatting privately. Bai Yi clicked in, and an ID named Daxia sent a message. Summer. Bai Yi's eyes flickered and he immediately guessed the other party's identity. Daxia. Hello, does the monster illustrated book really contain some monster weaknesses and information? 111111, yes. Daxia. Okay, I want one. The money has been transferred to you. As for the things, you don't need to send them. I will go to your place to get them in person later and record my identity by the way, okay. 1111111. Okay, no problem. Daxia, it seems you know my identity. 111111. Ha ha ha, it's obvious. Daxia, yes, see you later. Bai Yi smiled and closed the forum page because the takeaway arrived. After breakfast, Bai Yi was ready to go out. After buying a printer and corresponding materials nearby, he immediately went home and started printing the Monster Illustrated book. Because the Monster Illustrated book does not contain much content, only 23 pages in total, it can be printed quickly. But Bai Yi didn't print too many copies, only 100 copies in total. Because this thing obviously won't last long and can only be used to make some money in the short term. Once it spreads, everyone will know about it and no one will buy it. 1 million is enough for Bai Yi. He just wanted to use the money to buy a lot of supplies to prepare for the arrival of darkness. Although things from reality cannot be brought into the game. But when darkness falls, the world will undergo tremendous changes. It will be like the end of the world. Not only will there be monsters, but there will also be all kinds of horrific disasters. Bai Yi remembers clearly that the first thing that happened in his previous life was an extremely cold natural disaster, which lasted for 3 months. The natural disaster was so cold that many people froze to death even if they were covered with 5 layers of quilts and heated by a fire. As for getting out and exploring, that's even more impossible. Therefore, it is very important to prepare supplies in advance. 1 million is completely enough. At noon, Bai Yi entered the forum and took a look. It was found that 27 people had already purchased and paid for it. Some people happened to be in Shanghai. Some are in nearby cities. Bai Yi had no intention of delivering it in person, but went directly to a nearby courier to deliver everything and notified the buyers. When Bai Yi returned home, he found a man and a woman standing at the door. The man has a normal face, is wearing a suit, and is bald. He looks like an ordinary office worker. It was a woman, young and beautiful, wearing white casual clothes. When she saw Bai Yi, she took the initiative and smiled. First meeting, Mr. Bai Yi. Who are you two? Although there were some guesses in his mind, Bai Yi still asked. The girl introduced herself with a smile. My name is Ni Meng, and this is Wang Jiangguo. We are staff members of the Night Watch Magic City branch. I chatted with you on the forum this morning. My ID is Daxia. Really? Bai Yi nodded and smiled. You two are here to get the monster manual, right? I've prepared it. Please wait a moment. I'll get it for you right away. Hey, don't worry. Wang Jiangguo quickly stopped Bai Yi and smiled. Although the monster manual is also the purpose of coming here, there are 2 other things that I need to know from Mr. Bai. Oh, let's talk in the house first. Bai Yi invited the 2 people into the room, poured 2 cups of tea, and then asked. I wonder what 2 things Mr. Wang is talking about. This number 1, of course, is about the game. Wang Jiangguo said. Mr. Shangbibai should also understand the special nature of this game, so let's confirm your identity. Of course, this does not mean anything, it is just a record. As long as Mr. Bai doesn't do anything harmful, nothing will happen. That's it. I'm very willing to cooperate. Bai Yi had expected this a long time ago and took the initiative to take out his various IDs and let the 2 of them take photos and record them. After doing this, Wang Jiangguo glanced at Ni Meng. Ni Meng took a deep breath and spoke. Besides that, we have one more thing. Bai Yi said nothing, showing a listening attitude. Ni Meng Dao, we sincerely invite Mr. Bai to join the Night Watch organization and serve the government. Just when Bai Yi was about to refuse, Ni Meng continued. Mr. Bai Yi, there is no need to refuse in a hurry, just listen to what I have to say. Seeing this, Bai Yi could only make a, you continue, gesture, and then continued to listen. Ni Meng said sincerely, if Mr. Bai Yi is willing to join the Night Watch organization, the official will provide you with a free weapon that can be helpful for early exploration. At the same time, we also have various special rewards obtained from the game, including extraordinary props. These are all it can be obtained through exchange. Joining the Night Watch, the official will not restrict your freedom, there are various social benefits, and high salary. What do you think, Mr. Bai Yi? After all, this is Daxia, not another country. The official attitude towards players is very tolerant. As long as you don't commit crimes and live like ordinary people, no coercive action will be taken against you. Of course, it would be better if you can join the official team, as the benefits are not low. However, Bai Yi refused on the spot, because he knew that the world would soon be enveloped by darkness and natural disasters. If he really joined the officialdom, he would have to work hard. Although there were benefits, such as better security after darkness fell. But after regaining his life, seizing the opportunity, and possessing powerful talents, Bai Yi preferred to be alone. Although they had expected it, Ni Meng and the others were still disappointed. Ni Meng asked, "Can I ask why?" Bai Yi smiled. "There's no particular reason. I just don't like restraint, in any form." Finally, Bai Yi added, "Of course, if there is any need in the future, I will be happy to provide assistance to the officials." Hearing this, Ni Meng and Wang Zhengguo nodded. Since Bai Yi refused, they no longer stayed, took the monster illustrated book and left in a hurry. Bai Yi also ordered takeout, had lunch, and then started today's game journey. 1 p.m. Bai Yi turned on the air conditioner, sat on the bed with his phone, and clicked on the game. Familiar background music played. On the screen, a picture of the shelter appeared. Bai Yi controlled the villain to a small independent room in the shelter. There is a metal ball here. This is the core of the shelter, where upgrading the shelter takes place. As you get closer, information about the shelter emerges. Open black lens bracket shelter. Attribution: Bai Yi. Size: 100 square meters. Number of upgrades: none. Number of evolutions: none. Seismic resistance level: 1. Sound insulation level: 1. Insulation level: 1. Comfort level: 1. Layout: core room X1, bedroom X1, living room X1, bathroom X1. Special buildings: none. The current upgrade requirements: wood X1000, stone X1000, iron X100. The shelter can evolve once every 3 upgrades. Bai Yi looked at the materials in his backpack and found that they were completely sufficient, so he directly took out all the materials and put them into the core, and then clicked to upgrade. I saw a soft white light emitting from the core, covering the entire screen. After waiting for a minute, the light dissipated. The layout of the shelter suddenly changed drastically. First of all, the walls, which were originally made of soil, are now all stone, and the floors and ceilings have become wood. The range has doubled, and the extra doubling is very open, allowing Bai Yi to arrange it as he wishes. Earthquake resistance, sound insulation, thermal insulation, and comfort level are all +1. There are no new special entries, such as resistance to magic, and so on. Bai Yi is not disappointed either, because these entries can only be obtained through evolution. After upgrading, Bai Yi emptied some materials from his backpack, placed them all in the shelter, and then controlled the character to go out. Go and get rid of that screamer first, Bai Yi decided. Since there is a screamer in that church, it means there is a high probability that there will be something good. Even if not, it will not be a loss after killing the screamer, and you should be able to collect good materials for synthesis. Although he died at the hands of the screamer yesterday, it was because he was not prepared and vigilant. Now that he knows it, Bai Yi naturally has confidence. Apart from anything else, he had killed many screamers in his previous life. He has the ability and confidence to get rid of them. Although he returned to the shelter due to death, because he remembered the direction, Bai Yi controlled the character to move forward and soon arrived at the village he discovered yesterday. I also encountered some scattered corruptors on the road, but Bai Yi easily dealt with them and collected some materials. After arriving in the village again, the roars of the corruptors came from the mobile phone screen. It seems that many corruptors gathered here yesterday. Bai Yi murmured. Without any fear, he controlled the villain to step into the village, brandished the poisonous wooden stick, and started killing. Just like cracking a watermelon, a stick will break a head. Bai Yi chopped all the way from the entrance to the innermost part of the village without blinking an eye. After a while, we arrived at the church. Just like yesterday, it was cold and quiet. But this time, Bai Yi was much more cautious. He slowly approached, came to the door, and quietly opened the church door without causing any movement. As the door opened, Bai Yi saw the screamer wandering aimlessly inside. The screamer floats like a ghost, but it has an entity, taking on a human form, but its face only has a mouth full of fangs, its skin is gray, and it looks very strange and weird. The screamer is a typical monster in the darkness, born in the darkness and derived from the power of the evil god, rather than being contaminated like the corruptor. Its strength can be said to be very strong, but its strength can also be said to be very weak. Because the most important thing is the scream it makes, which can not only shatter the human body, but also cause damage to the human spirit. So yesterday Bai felt uncomfortable even in front of the screen. But it's also extremely simple to deal with. Just plug your ears. Yes, it's that simple. This is an easy fix as long as you can't hear the screamer. Therefore, when Bai went out to explore in his previous life, he always prepared a few earplugs in his arms, just to guard against screamers. This game was created by the will of the earth. It seems simple, but it is extremely real. Bai opened his backpack, and there was a rag inside, which he had picked up in the village before coming. After clicking on it, many options popped up, including a tear option. With a click, the rag split into two. Click again, and many options pop up, including the option of plug into ears. Bai clicked immediately. On the screen, there are two extra balls of linen at the ears of the character. After doing this, Bai raised the corner of his mouth and controlled the character to step into the church gracefully. The screamer noticed it immediately, opened his big mouth and let out a scream. The rags couldn't completely isolate it, but some sounds could still be heard, which was painful but bearable. Bai seized the moment and immediately controlled the character to rush over, aiming at the screamer's head and swinging the poisonous wooden stick. Go to hell. Bang, a powerful blow. Screamer stumbled, but did not fall to the ground dead. Obviously its endurance is much greater than that of the corruptor. But Bai didn't panic at all and clicked the attack button again. Bang, another stick. This time the screamer finally fell to the ground. Although his head was not broken, he also lost his life. Collect or not? Certainly. Bai clicks, yes. A prompt appears. Collection is successful. You obtained the screamer's skin. Not bad. Bai raised the corners of his mouth and nodded with satisfaction. He remembered that the screamer would produce two materials, one was the screamer's skin and the other was the screamer's heart. All quite useful. After the former is ground into powder, it can be added to building materials and is a good sound insulation material. The latter is a material for making potions, which seems to temporarily increase the speed. Unfortunately, Bai does not know the formula. After taking care of the screamer, there are no more enemies in the church. Otherwise he would have just come out fighting screamer. That's why Bai can make this judgment. Next, he began to explore the interior of the church, looking for some useful resources. After a while, Bai found useful items under the statue in the church hall. Open black lens bracket sacred water. Explanation. It is a special water source in religious belief. It is rumored that the divine power poured out by the gods flows in it. It has the effect of removing curses from the body and has a certain lethality against evil spirits. Good stuff. Bai had a smile on his face. The divine water is placed in a gold bottle in front of the statue, with about 200 milliliters, no more, no less. Bai immediately put it away, hesitated for a moment, and then clicked on the backpack to prepare for synthesis. Open black lens bracket iron plus corroded iron knife close black lens bracket. Although the wooden stick in his hand is not bad, it is still much weaker than the iron weapon. If he had a suitable weapon, he could kill the screamer instantly with just one blow, and there would be no need for a second blow. The number of synthesis times has been refreshed today, so Bai plans to get the weapon out first. As for the poisonous wooden stick, you can keep it and take it out when you encounter a suitable enemy. You can also sell it to others. Activate your natural abilities and click to synthesize. The two items merged, and a brand new iron sword emerged. The synthesis is successful. You get the item, iron knife. Close black lens bracket. Open black lens bracket iron knife. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. Weapons carefully forged by blacksmiths are very sharp. Close black lens bracket. Equip it and replace the wooden stick in the character's hand with a long knife. In comparison, the wooden stick looks much more majestic and more lethal. Next, Bai continued to search. It's a pity that this church has existed for too long, and many things inside are rotten and have lost their value. Bai can only collect some materials. It wasn't until 6 or 7 minutes later that I finally saw the harvest on the second floor. It was a black iron treasure chest with a metallic luster, lying quietly in the corner of the second floor. Bai Yi stepped forward happily and opened the treasure box directly. You opened the black iron treasure chest and obtained the basic professional rune mage. Close black lens bracket. As the treasure box emitted a soft light, Bai Yi looked startled, then showed ecstasy. It's actually a professional rune. Unfortunately, I called that person the European Emperor in the morning, but the European Emperor turned out to be me. Ha ha ha, I like it. Bai Yi happily picked up the runes, and the information emerged. Basic professional rune, mage. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. After use, you can obtain an extraordinary basic professional mage, and obtain corresponding specializations and talents, as well as passive blessings. Close black lens bracket. Without any hesitation, Bai Yi just clicked to use it. Rune culture creates light that pours into the character's body. Then a series of prompts appeared on the screen. You have gained a profession, mage. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the mage talent, meditation. Close black lens bracket. You have obtained the mage specialization, elemental affinity. You have obtained the basic skill of the mage, fireball. Feeling the sudden inexplicable energy in his body, Bai Yi raised the corners of his mouth and showed an excited smile. Extraordinary power, I actually got it so quickly in this life. In his last life, he only got a mage rune 3 months after darkness fell, and he got it from others in exchange for a lot of resources. In this life, he only needs 2 days. Using the mage runes, magic power was born in his body, and he also had elemental affinity, which was necessary for a mage to release magic. Without elemental affinity, elemental magic cannot be released. In addition to this, meditation is a time of rest that restores magic power. Of course, the most important thing is the mage's basic magic, fireball. This is an extraordinary skill. With this skill in hand, Bai Yi's next exploration will be smoother. Because of the special nature of the game, although professional runes are only used in the game, Bai Yi has also become stronger in reality and gained the ability of a mage. And physical fitness has also been strengthened. Of course, the thing that has been strengthened the most is the spirit, which is at least twice as strong as before. After getting familiar with it, Bai Yi clicked on the properties. Open black lens bracket Bai Yi. Close black lens bracket. Extraordinary sequence. Mage. Close black lens bracket. Level 1. Close black lens bracket. Professional skill. Fireball. Close black lens bracket. Professional talent. Meditation. Close black lens bracket. Professional specialization. Elemental affinity. Close black lens bracket. Equipment. Iron sword. Close black lens bracket. Talent. Synthesis hand. You have the ability to synthesize any item 3 times a day and can be upgraded. Close black lens bracket. Good. There are huge changes in attributes compared to before. The level has also reached 1. But it will be difficult to improve further next. Level improvement requires career advancement. Career advancement is diverse and requires higher level runes. Just like the runes for mage career advancement, Bai Yi knows about more than a dozen types. Ice mage, flame mage, magic swordsman and so on. Professional runes of this level are rare to come by, and Bai Yi won't expect them anytime soon. I wonder if my talent can be used to synthesize more advanced professional runes. Bai Yi touched his chin, a little curious. However, this kind of synthesis requires at least 1 basic professional rune as a material. It cannot be tried now and can only be discussed later. Turning off the attributes, Bai Yi controlled the character to leave the church. This village has been explored, and he is going to explore in another direction. As for leaving the village and going further afield, Bai Yi doesn't have this idea for the time being. The further you explore, the farther away you are from the shelter, and it will be troublesome to go back when the time comes. The backpack only has so much space, so he has to go back from time to clean up his harvest. After leaving the village, the villain stepped into the surging fog. When walking, be bold. The mist surges like ocean waves. A gentle breeze rustled the leaves. With a roar, a corruptor rushed into the field of vision, spitting out acid. Bai Yi controlled the character to dodge quickly, and fired a fireball with his backhand. Bang! The corruptor was torn apart on the spot. At the same time, Bai Yi also felt the magic power in his body decrease. About a fifth less. That's right, when a character uses skills in the game, what is reduced is his magic power in reality. After all, the character in the game is technically him, it's just that he won't die if he dies in the game. It seems like I can cast fireballs up to 5 times at a time, which is enough. The fireball spell is quite powerful. Not to mention the corruptor, the screamer can also be killed with one hit. Released 5 times in a row, even some powerful monsters couldn't hold it. By the way, can skills be synthesized? Bai Yi suddenly came up with this idea and decided to try it. Open properties and click on skills. An option pops up immediately. Open black lens bracket can be synthesized. Close black lens bracket. Damn it, is this really okay? Bai Yi's eyes widened, with a look of astonishment on his face. What followed was a look of ecstasy. If skills can be synthesized, they will undoubtedly become more powerful. Bai Yi didn't hesitate and clicked to combine immediately. As for synthetic materials, Bai Yi also had an idea immediately. Divine water. That's right, this is it. Although in Bai Yi's view, the acid collected from the corruptor's corpse can also be used for synthesis, divine water is obviously better. Taking a deep breath, Bai Yi started operating. Fireball plus sacred water. Click compose. The synthesis is successful, your fireball skill disappears, and you gain a new skill, divine flame. Close black lens bracket. Divine flame technique. Close black lens bracket. Explanation. The flame containing sacred power has extremely high temperature and has strong lethality against darkness and evil creatures. At the same time, it has a certain healing effect. Close black lens bracket. So strong, ha ha ha. Seeing the effect of the synthesized divine flame technique, Bai Yi couldn't help laughing. Click to release the skill and Bai Yi tries it. I saw golden white flames emerging from the hands of the villain, like a fire snake running towards a big tree. The big tree was burned instantly and turned into a pile of ashes in just a second or two. The powerful power far exceeded the fireball technique, which stunned Bai Yi. But then his expression changed slightly. Hiss, it consumes so much. He felt the crazy consumption of magic power in his body. It's twice as powerful as fireball. In this way, I can release the divine flame technique twice at most at once. You can grit your teeth and release 3 times, but after the 3rd release, you will probably faint from exhaustion. How to say, although the number of releases is not as high as that of fireball, it is more powerful than fireball, so the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. But it also reminded Bai Yi. Next, you can no longer synthesize skills casually. Although the combined power is indeed much stronger, his own magic power is not enough to support his release. Next, we have to find a way to increase our magic power. Shaking his head, Bai Yi took a deep breath, put down his phone, and began to meditate to restore his magic power. After meditating for half an hour, the magic power was almost restored, and Bai Yi controlled the character to continue exploring. Encountering some corruptors along the way, Bai Yi did not use the divine flame technique, but directly killed them one by one with an iron knife, and then collected them. Unknowingly, Bai Yi arrived in front of a big mountain. The mountains are lush and there are groups of vigorous ancient trees, but they are shrouded in darkness and look extremely strange. Bai Yi thought for a while and controlled the character into the mountains. Along with a roar, a black shadow suddenly struck. Bai Yi turned around cautiously and took a closer look and found that it was a wild boar. It's just a polluted wild boar. It's huge, as if it's wearing black armor, and its tusks are huge and scary. The mountains in the dark land are far more dangerous than other places. Bai Yi didn't dare to be careless and controlled the role seriously. When the wild boar charged again, it was like a tank rushing towards him. Bai Yi did not dare to resist, so he quickly dodged and found the right opportunity to slash the wild boar with his iron knife. There was a clang and sparks flew everywhere. The iron knife almost made a notch, but not a single mark was left on the wild boar. Damn, so hard. Bai Yi's eyes widened, he couldn't help but click his tongue, and quickly put away the iron knife. He was afraid that if he continued to cut, his knife would become useless. Roar! The wild boar roared, and was completely irrational after being contaminated. It came to its senses and charged at Bai Yi again. Bai Yi was unafraid and used the divine flame technique on his backhand. Golden white flames rose up and roared away, immediately covering the wild boar. Accompanied by the wild boar's painful wail, it was burned alive by divine flames in a short while, exuding the aroma of burning barbecue. Bai Yi stepped forward, looked at the charred corpse, and clicked to collect it. Collection is successful. You have obtained contaminated animal skin X1, sharp wild boar teeth X2, and contaminated animal bones X3. Close black lens bracket. Not bad. Bai Yi frowned slightly, quite satisfied with what he had collected. In addition to being sometimes used to synthesize these materials, if you can find a blacksmith or learn the blacksmith's forging skills in the future, they can also be used to create equipment. In short, the more the merrier. Bai Yi will not give up. When playing other games in the past, he was a garbage man. He especially liked to play those open-world games and pick up garbage everywhere. This real game is no exception. After resting for a while, Bai Yi continued walking towards the mountains. Next he became much more cautious. Because the monsters in the mountains are stronger and are basically monsters contaminated by wild beasts, they are much harder to deal with than the corruptors. Some monsters have rough skin and thick flesh that cannot be cut by Bai Yi, so they can only use divine flames to deal with the enemy. But the divine flame technique can only be released 3 times at most, and he will stop after 3 times. There is no other way but to be cautious. But no matter how cautious Bai Yi is, he will still be found by monsters. After walking a few steps, I encountered another polluted python, covered in black scales, as if it was wearing a suit of armor like a wild boar. When Bai Yi controls the character to slash with a knife, he can see sparks coming out. It really can't be cut. In desperation, Bai Yi could only use the divine flame technique again to kill him. Collection is successful. You have obtained contaminated animal skin X1. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the prompts on the phone screen, Bai Yi took a deep breath and turned pale. Tired. Too much magic power is consumed. Bai Yi had no choice but to temporarily quit the game and sit cross-legged on the bed to recover. After meditating quietly for half an hour, my magic power was almost restored. At this time, Bai Yi also noticed that the sky outside the window had darkened at some point. Already 6 o'clock, so soon. Bai Yi picked up the phone and looked at the time, and was surprised. Being immersed in the game, he never expected that time would pass so quickly. Shaking his head, Bai Yi picked up the phone, simply got out of bed and went out. After having dinner out, Bai Yi bought a large amount of supplies and returned home to stock up. Foods like instant noodles, spicy strips, canned food, rice, and oil, salt and vinegar sauce. Buying too much at once would arouse suspicion, so Bai Yi didn't buy much and planned to buy some every day. By the time I got home, it was already 8 o'clock in the evening. Without rushing to play the game, Bai Yi lay on the bed with his mobile phone and entered the anonymous forum. Compared to yesterday, today's forum looks much more lively. There should be many new players joining. Bai Yi estimated. At a glance, there are also many new posts. Top, on July 3rd, the official will open the offline trading market in Shanghai Magic City. Close double angle bracket. I just discovered this game today. I was shocked. I thought it was my golden finger. I didn't expect that everyone could play it. Close double angle bracket. Finally found the organization. Woohoo, do you have any strategies? Beg. Close double angle bracket. Welfare is coming. As long as you join the official website, you will get a weapon for free, which is a great way to open up wasteland and explore. Close double angle bracket. Brothers, are there other races in this game? I found the kobolds and I don't know if I can communicate with them. Close double angle bracket. A lot of money is spent on equipment, and materials can also be exchanged. If you are interested, come quickly. Close double angle bracket. On July 3rd, the official will open the offline trading market in Magic City. Close double angle bracket. Quote. Bai Yi was attracted by the first post at a glance. After clicking in and taking a look, a ray of light flashed in his eyes. The official actually launched offline trading. This is a good thing. At least for Bai Yi, yes. Because the organizer of the offline transaction is the official, at least there is no need to worry about someone taking advantage of the situation. After all, a game like this can make people gain strength. No one knows whether the darkness in the hearts of other players will be amplified. With official sponsorship, at least internal security is guaranteed. And in this way, Bai Yi can also conduct some in-game transactions with other players. The time is tomorrow. Bai Yi looked at the location. It was in the suburbs, a bit remote. But it's normal to think about it. After all, this game cannot be known to ordinary people, otherwise it will cause chaos. In order to prevent accidents, it must be kept away from areas where ordinary people gather. In addition, Bai Yi also clicked on the post about encountering a kobold. The person who posted the post explained in the post that he was a new player playing the game on his first day. As soon as he entered the game, he was in a mountain. After exploring for a while, he discovered a kobold camp. It's just that he didn't know whether the other party was good or bad, so he didn't approach rashly, and he happened to know that this was a place for players to communicate, so he wanted to come here to ask. There are many comments below. Some suggested taking the initiative. Someone suggested spying in secret. Others suggested taking a detour. Bai Yi's eyes were full of envy. Kobolds, this is a treasure race. Kobolds are not very powerful, but they have the same hobbies as dragons, like collecting shiny things and mining. In addition, kobolds have special noses and can smell the location of various minerals. Therefore, as long as you find kobolds living in groups, there may be minerals near them. Even if there are not, there will definitely be good things in your hands. Perhaps some treasures are not available, but iron ore and copper ore alone are absolutely necessary for players. It will be used when upgrading the shelter later. It's a pity that I didn't encounter it, otherwise there would be no need to worry about the resource problem of upgrading the shelter in the early stage. After browsing the forum for a while, Bai Yi was almost rested. He sat up straight and clicked on the game, ready to continue exploring. On the screen, the picture was dim, with only the faint light emitting from the character dispersing the surrounding black fog. From time to time, there are sounds of roaring beasts in the mountains. Bai Yi controls the character and walks carefully in the mountains. The sound of the wind was like a ghost's howling, which was inexplicably scary. This time, he didn't encounter any polluting beasts. He was very calm, which made Bai Yi breathe a sigh of relief. With his current strength, when encountering polluted beasts, he can only use skills, and ordinary means cannot cause any damage at all. However, the skill can only be released 2 or 3 times, and you have to go offline to recover your magic power after use, so it is best not to encounter wild beasts. But at this time, Bai Yi suddenly stopped controlling and listened. Vaguely, he seemed to hear something moving in the distance. Are there monsters fighting with each other nearby? Bai Yi thought secretly. After some hesitation, I decided to go and have a look. Following the direction of the sound, Bai Yi groped over. It didn't take long to reach the destination. Bai Yi looked surprised when he saw the scene in front of him clearly. As he expected, there were indeed 2 beasts fighting. A lion with blood-red eyes. A strong white tiger. What surprised him was that the white tiger actually remained awake in his eyes. Apparently, it is not contaminated and remains sane. You meet intelligent creatures for the first time and activate the voice function. Players can talk to intelligent creatures in the game by speaking directly. Close black lens bracket. A prompt also appeared on the screen at this time. Bai Yi didn't care after one glance, but continued to focus on the battle between the 2 beasts. Roar. With a roar, the white tiger opened its bloody mouth, and a burst of coldness spurted out, instantly freezing the huge blood lion in front of him into an ice sculpture. This is actually an extraordinary beast. Seeing this, Bai Yi's expression condensed, and a look of vigilance appeared in his eyes. Fortunately, he didn't show his face rashly. Extraordinary beasts are usually very strong. Once discovered, he may not be his opponent. At this time, cracks appeared on the ice sculpture and a clicking sound was heard. There was only a bang, and the cold ice sculpture shattered. The blood lion roared, broke free, and rushed towards the white tiger. It waved its sharp claws and slapped the white tiger away. The next moment, the blood lion also opened its bloody mouth, a stream of red light gathered, and spurted out blazing flames. Bai Yi was surprised again. He didn't expect that this blood lion also had extraordinary power. But then a look of excitement appeared on his face. After all, if 2 extraordinary beasts fight like a snipe and a clam, he will get the best of both worlds. Apart from anything else, if you collect extraordinary beasts, you will definitely be able to obtain extraordinary materials. Coupled with your own talent, you may be able to synthesize two powerful pieces of equipment. But there are even extraordinary beasts in this mountain. I encountered two of them casually. You should be more careful when exploring in the future. He didn't want to face an extraordinary beast. At least with his current strength, the risk of encountering an extraordinary beast was still too great. Bai Yi murmured and continued to watch. The blazing flames covered it like a wave. Perhaps because of the danger of death, the white tiger quickly climbed up and breathed out cold air to compete with the flames. Compared to the white tiger, the blood lion is 3 points weaker. Under the cold air, the power of the flames continued to weaken until it was completely crushed by the cold air, shrouding the blood lion and freezing it again into an ice sculpture. The white tiger's eyes were cold and sharp, and he rushed towards the ice sculpture without hesitation, swung out his claws, and with a click, the ice sculpture fell into pieces, and the blood lion inside also fell into pieces. After dealing with the blood lion, the white tiger did not rest or leave. Instead, he suddenly turned his head in the direction of Bai Yi and roared. "Hey, I was discovered." Bai Yi looked stunned and surprised. But seeing the white tiger about to open his mouth and spit out cold air, Bai Yi hesitated and chose to take the initiative to walk out. "Well, Mr. Hu, why don't we shut our mouths first? I don't mean any harm," Bai Yi said awkwardly. He knew that extraordinary beasts were intelligent enough to communicate with humans as long as they were not contaminated. Sure enough, when he saw Bai Yi, a humanized surprise flashed in Bai Hu's eyes, as if he was surprised that he didn't expect to see normal humans in such a world. Bai Yi did not mean any harm, Bai Hu felt it, so the cold air condensed in his mouth dissipated, and then he fell to the ground with a bang, gasping for air, and at the same time let out a low groan of pain. Bai Yi looked over after hearing the sound and frowned immediately. He hadn't noticed it before, but now he discovered that there was a torn wound on the white tiger's abdomen, and blood was constantly flowing. It should be the masterpiece of the previous blood lion. If it were a normal world, with white tiger's strength, it would be easy to recover, just find some herbs to eat. But in this world shrouded in darkness, it is difficult to find medicinal herbs. There are only a few common weeds, and the big trees in the mountains are all bare, let alone herbs. The white tiger licked the wound, trying to recover with saliva, but unfortunately the blood continued to flow. After Bai Yi thought for a while, he made a decision and walked towards the white tiger. Roar! The white tiger immediately raised its head and roared a warning, telling Bai Yi not to come near. Bai Yi stopped quickly and explained. "I don't mean any harm. It's just that you are injured. If you don't heal it, you will definitely die. If you believe me, you can let me help you. I can heal your injury." He is not out of kindness. But it is rare to find a beast that is not polluted in the dark land and remains awake, let alone a beast with extraordinary power. If this was taken to a shelter, it would be a bloody gain. Just in case Bai Hu didn't believe it, Bai Yi also raised his hand and used the divine flame technique. Only this time, the divine flame technique did not show blazing high temperatures, but exuded a sacred aura. This is another ability of divine flame, healing. As long as he is willing, the divine flame technique can be used to kill people or save people. Bai Hu also felt the specialness of the divine flame technique, and there was a look of hesitation in his eyes, but as if he had thought of something, Bai Hu nodded, turned over on his own initiative, and showed his wounds in front of Bai Yi. Seeing this, Bai Yi looked happy, knowing that Bai Hu had chosen to believe in him. He immediately approached, stretched out his hand, approached the wound under Bai Hu's gaze, and cast the divine flame technique. As the sacred light covers the wound, it begins to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, Bai Yi's face also turned pale at a speed visible to the naked eye. After a while, Bai Hu's injuries were healed. Bai Yi quickly dispersed the divine flame technique. While breathing heavily, his forehead was covered with sweat. The healing power of this divine flame technique consumes more magic power than I thought. In just this moment, the magic power in his body was completely exhausted. Bai Hu lowered his head and continued to lick the place where the previous wound was. Bai Yi didn't bother, but stood up and walked towards the body of the blood lion, reaching out to collect it. The collection is successful. You obtained the contaminated flame lion skin X1, and you obtained the fire crystal X1. Close black lens bracket. Opening the backpack, Bai Yi read the instructions. The hide is good and has good thermal insulation effect. The fire crystal stone is the core of the flame lion's power. It contains the energy of the fire element and is a very good material. Bai Yi already has the idea of synthesis. Roar. At this time, the white tiger had finished licking the wound and came behind Bai Yi and roared. Bai Yi was startled, and quickly turned around to look at the huge white tiger in front of him. He thought it was wild and wanted to eat him, so he quickly said, "Master Hu, I just saved you, you can't repay a favor with a grudge." Hearing this, Bai Hu rolled his eyes unabashedly, squatted down, and turned his head to signal. Bai Yi was stunned and scratched his head. "Master Hu, do you want me to sit on it?" Roar. "Okay, that's what you said, don't bite me later." Riding a tiger, this is the first time for a flower girl to ride in a sedan chair. Bai Yi swallowed, a flash of excitement flashed in his eyes, turned over and rode up. The white tiger roared again, without hesitation, and ran directly in one direction. "Master Hu, where are you taking me?" Bai Yi asked curiously while lying on Bai Hu's back. Bai Hu didn't respond, but only sped up. The whole journey was fast and furious, and we kept going deep into the mountains. White Tiger has obviously lived in this mountain for a long time, is familiar with the roads, and has not encountered any monsters. After a while, it brought Bai Yi to a cave. "So you want to take me home?" Bai Yi suddenly realized. It was very dark in the cave. Roar. After entering the cave, the white tiger barked and signaled Bai Yi to come down. Bai Yi quickly got off the tiger and followed the white tiger into the cave. Then he saw a tiger cub running over and pounced on the white tiger. Seeing this, Bai Yi was stunned for a moment, then touched his nose and said a little embarrassed, "Ahem, it turns out it's not Master Tiger, but Mother Tiger." Hearing this, the white tiger rolled his eyes humanely, then bit the little white tiger's neck, lifted it into the nest, and added some hair. Ouch! The little white tiger made a delicate voice and looked at Bai Yi curiously with his big eyes, sizing up the outsider. Because of the tiger mother, the little white tiger is not afraid at all. He even wants to come and play with Bai Yi from time to time, but the tiger mother pushes him back. It's a pity that it's on the screen of a mobile phone. If it were in front of him, Bai Yi would definitely hit him twice. But he didn't stand still. This is the lair of an extraordinary beast, so there should be a treasure chest, right? He thought to himself as he wandered around the cave. Really, not long after, Bai Yi saw a shiny black iron treasure box next to where the tiger mother was resting, and immediately showed an excited smile. "Ha ha ha, there is indeed a treasure chest." Bai Yi walked over happily and asked the tiger mother, "Tiger mom, do you need this treasure box? If not, I will open it." Roar. The tiger mother raised her head and took a look, then shook her head. This treasure chest appeared out of thin air in its lair. At first it was curious and bit into it, but found that it could not be opened or broken, and since it posed no threat to itself, it stopped paying attention. Since the human in front of you wants it, just give it to him. Seeing this, Bai Yi rubbed his hands and immediately opened the treasure box. You opened the black iron treasure chest and obtained Iron X100, shelter item, synthesis box. Close black lens bracket. Synthesis box. Bai Yi looked surprised, seemed to have thought of something, and quickly checked. Shelter items. Synthesis box. Close black lens bracket. Description. Special props are effective when placed in the shelter. Materials can be consumed to synthesize various basic buildings. Close black lens bracket. Looking at the instructions, Bai Yi immediately showed a happy smile on his face. It turns out to be the synthesis box I thought it was. This is good stuff. This is an exclusive item in the shelter and can be used to craft many things, such as walls, rooms, beds, tables and chairs and other furniture. It seems to have little effect, but it can greatly facilitate players to plan their own shelter. If nothing else, let's just say that after Bai Yi upgraded the shelter before, the open space doubled. If he wanted to build a room, he couldn't lay bricks and apply cement with his own hands, right? What a waste of time. But with this thing, as long as you have the materials, you can do it in an instant. Bai Yi wanted to get this thing in his last life, because without it, the shelter would be in a mess. I didn't expect to get it so quickly in this life. And there are 100 units of iron. Although there are no props that can enhance his combat power, Bai Yi is still very satisfied with the contents of this treasure box. Next, Bai Yi walked around the cave again and found that there was only this one treasure box. Disappointed, Bai Yi looked at the tiger mother who was feeding her cubs, and quickly cheered up. Compared with the black iron treasure chest, the tiger mother is the biggest gain. Tiger mom, I'm ready to go, Bai Yi said to the tiger mother. Hearing this, the tiger mother raised her head, showed a puzzled look, and roared. It's like saying it's so dangerous outside, why should we leave? Bai Yi understood and said with a smile. Danger is danger, but there are also many opportunities for me, and I can't live here forever, right? I also have my own home. Speaking of which, tiger mom, why don't you come with me too? Roar. The tiger mother roared and shook her head in refusal without hesitation. It still has cubs, so how can it leave? Bai Yi was not in a hurry and explained. Tiger mother, what I mean is that you should take your child with you to my place. My place is safer than here. Roar. The tiger mother still refused. Bai Yi slowly figured it out. But tiger mom, if you continue to stay here, what if you get injured again? If you get injured, what will happen to your child? If something happens to you, it might be difficult for it to survive. Tiger mothers are quite intelligent. He could understand the meaning of Bai Yi's words and knew it was the truth, with a trace of hesitation in his eyes. Bai Yi grinned and continued. And tiger mom, you should also know that food is hard to find in the world now, right? Roar. Tiger mom nodded. It was fine before. Since the sky and the earth turned dark, it found food increasingly difficult to find. Not to mention monsters everywhere now, a lot of food from the past has been contaminated and cannot be eaten. It wanted to go out to look for food today because it was hungry. Unexpectedly, it encountered the blood lion and had a fight. Although it won, it was a narrow victory. If he hadn't met the human in front of him, he might actually have told him where he was. Seeing tiger mother's admission, Bai Yi also raised the corners of his mouth, trying to figure out what to do. So tiger mom, you'd better leave with me and go to my place. I'm a safe place where your children can grow up safely. The most important thing is, I also have food there, so you can eat spicy food. Roar. Really? The tiger mother suddenly raised her head and was attracted by Bai Yi's words. Bai Yi assured, patting his chest. Of course, I won't lie to you. As long as you follow me, you will have meat to eat every day. After hearing this, the tiger mother was finally moved. After thinking about it for a while, he finally nodded and agreed. Safety or not is not important, having meat and vegetables is the most important thing. You can't lie to me. Hey, don't worry, I won't lie to you. Bai Yi grinned and showed a happy smile. Finally succeeded in fooling the tiger mother. And there is a little tiger. Since he is the cub of an extraordinary beast, he might also have extraordinary powers. This time, he is making a lot of money. As for the meat, Bai Yi is really not worried. Although there was no food at all in his shelter. And things from reality cannot be brought into the game. But things in the game can be brought out. It doesn't matter if it's a dead thing or a living thing. This is why Bai Yi dared to give the tiger mother a guarantee. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.